There are almost 8 billion people in the world today. Everyone is unique. Everyone is special. But very few people ever realizes their full potential. How do you find yourself in such a chaotic, fast-paced world where everyone is looking for meaning, significance, and a sense of purpose, and yet discover your own? Welcome to Birthing Purpose Podcast with me, Casey Ann Crossdale. This channel is focused on helping you find your true authentic self. While everyone else is competing, comparing, and compromising their character, I am here to help you find your true identity and own your differences. What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. This is the Birthing Purpose Podcast with me, your host, Casey Ann Crossdale. Wagwan, what's up? It is such a joy. It is such a pleasure and a privilege to be back after being away for 6 months. It has been 6 months since I released a single episode, and I am so happy, so excited, so grateful to be back. How have you guys been? I want to say thank you to all my Purpose family, subscribers, all those people who have subscribed to my YouTube channel, Birthing Purpose Podcast, all those who have been following the show, whether it be through Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, however you have been, you know, following the show. I want to say thank you. It is very much appreciated. All the people who, keep on reaching out to me, keep on encouraging me, asking me to release the next season, the next episode, those who have left their comments, those who have shared, those who have liked. Listen, I am so very grateful. Thank you guys so much. It means so much to me. If you are new to this show, if you are new to this podcast, if you're new to this channel, I want to say welcome, welcome, welcome. It is great to have you. This is season 3 of the Birthing Purpose podcast. We have already published 2 seasons. So if this is your first time listening, I encourage you to go back and listen to all the episodes for season 1 and season 2. So yes, I said that I have been away, and I know that a lot of persons have been wondering, like, what's going on? Why have you taken so long to publish, season 3 and all of that? So to begin this season, I'm just going to give a update, a life update. Where have I been? What have I been up to? And all of that. So where to start? Oh, before I even do all of that, if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, stop right now. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave a comment, share it with a friend, tell a friend to tell a friend, okay? Also, since I've been off, I have also launched a website. Yay! So Purpose Family, we have our very own website. So you can go and check that out. It is www.thepurposefamily.com, my very own website. So if you have not yet checked that out, you can go ahead and check it out. And of course, let me know what you think about it. So yes, I have been away. I think the last episode that I published was in June of this year. This podcast started in March of this year. It was. I launched this podcast for my birthday, and let me tell you, it has been quite a learning experience for me. God has blown my mind where this is concerned, and I am so grateful. And if you've listened to, you know, season one, you would have an understanding of why I started this podcast in the first place. And it was really just me being in a state of, you know, I want to say that I was in a state of just wanting to know who I was, why I am here. I understood that, there had to be something that sets me apart, a reason that I was brought to this earth, and I wanted to know why, I wanted to understand why, So I really started to ask God why. He's my creator, right? Just like any product. I mean, I'm going to use this microphone, the persons who designed and created and sells this microphone. If I have an issue with this microphone, the best person for me to go back to would be them, because they understand it, they know how it's supposed to function, how it's supposed to work and everything. So they would be the best person to go back to. Now God is my creator, so of course I had to go back to him at the point that I realized that, hey, I need to understand why I am here. What is my purpose? Because it has to be more than just this. It has to be more than just me waking up in the morning, going to my job, It had to be more than paying bills. It had to be more than just going to work and then, repeat it until I die. It had to be more than that, and I wanted to know why. And, upon finding out more about myself, who I am, why I am here, this podcast was birthed because I wanted to also help others in discovering their purpose. And so I titled this episode The Classroom of Life. And that is because I've had, over the past, I want to say, year and 8 months, I have had so many experiences that I'm telling you, it had to be God. And it started for me in the year 2021. 2021 was by far one of the most challenging years of my life in every way that I can think about. Apart from 2016 when I lost my mom and I was completely devastated and just hurt and broken and just feeling lost. 2021 really challenged me. It challenged me emotionally, it challenged me mentally, it challenged me financially. All of the alleys, it was just a really challenging year, especially, physically and financially, because in 2021, I found myself I feel like I was basically depressed. You can call it that. I was so stressed out, feeling depressed, and it was taking a toll on my body. So my health was basically deteriorating, and I had a great financial challenge and burden in 2021 like never before, I'm telling you. And it was just really, really hard, but I learned a lot. God brought me through, and I learned a lot coming out of that. At the beginning of 2021, I made a very, very, very bad financial decision that affected it throughout the whole entire rest of the year for me, right? And I got to such a low place. One of the things with me is that I struggle, I don't like to burden people with my problems. So, I tend to kind of just keep it to myself. And, if I feel like it's really too much, I have a small circle of people that, I will talk to, I will seek counsel from. But I will really just, internalize, keep it to myself, talk to God about it. And 2021, I did a lot of that. I was going through so much, and nobody really knew, because I was still showing up as that goofy, caring, reliable, friend, sister, aunt, co-worker, you name it, I was still showing out. And so nobody really know how much I was going through, and I did not wish to share it. So that in of itself made it even more difficult for me. And one of the things that happened to me is that, from 2018 was my final year at UTech. And if you listen to season 1, I mentioned how I had to stay back at UTech just to do one module. And whilst I was doing that, I took the decision that, well, hey, I'm here in Kingston, I'm paying rent, I'm paying all of these bills just to do one course, and I thought, why not get a job, because it's just one course, I have a lot of time on my hands. And I remember my best friend sent me this advertisement, and I thought, okay, what's there to lose? I'm going to apply for this job. And to be honest, I wasn't really taking it seriously. I was just applying because I said, you know what, God, I need something. At that time, I always before I even started making vision boards, I would always write, I don't know, maybe I could call it like a mantra. I would always, be writing things that I wanted to see manifested, or manifesting things, if you want to call it that. So, I was writing down, and in it I was saying that, I would have a job by X time, and, all of that. So I applied to the job, and I remember the day, I think it was the day after I applied for the job, I was home and I was having my devotion, and I remember kneeling by my bedside and I was praying and I was talking to God about the job that I had applied for. And I remember by the time I got up and went to the kitchen to make breakfast, I heard my phone ring. And when I answered the phone, they were calling me to come in for an interview for that job that I applied for. And I went to the interview, and the very same day that I did the interview, they called me in the evening and they told me that I got the job. And this was my first and only corporate job, straight out of UTech. So I did it for three and a half years, almost 4 years. I was doing this job, and this was something that, to be honest, I was very passionate about. I looked forward to going to work. I was just so excited about the work and everything. I was happy with it until 2021. 2021, I just became so, I think I was probably just burnt out, so frustrated, because one of the things with working for that company and doing that job is that, especially on the mountains, I had to be in the office very late. I remember sometimes we were short staffed for a period of time, and during that time, sometimes I was in the office until 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning. I'd go back to work the next day for 8:30 and all of that. But it wasn't a burden to me because I actually enjoyed what I was doing. But after a time, I guess, I started to experience burnout. But more than that, I started to become greatly frustrated because I felt as though I was not being compensated for the work that I was putting out. And the frustrations grew more and more. And I remember talking to God about another job and all of that. And I was talking to my friends, also telling them I'm considering leaving the job. But even in all of that time, I was not actively seeking for another job. So here am I, I'm talking to God, I'm talking to my friends and all of that, but I'm not actively seeking another job. I'm still going. And I got to the point now in 2022, within the first quarter, I'm telling you that, because for 2021 it wasn't all that bad, because some of the time I was working from home and then some of the times I was going into the office. But in 2022, work from home, totally cut out. I'm in the office now 5 days a week and all of that. And I remember like the first quarter of 2022, and here I was, basically all of my vacation leave already used up, sick leave, all of that, because I was out of office. You have to call that I was out of office at least one time every week or every 2 weeks. That's how I was doing it. Like, I felt like I could not breathe. It became this great burden for me to go to work. Like, I'd go to work and I'd just be watching the time. Like, I just want to go home. Like, let this day be over. Just do what I need to do and just go home. Because I just felt so frustrated with the job and everything. And then I remember, just this urge or this desire, I started to feel to go abroad. And I don't know, like this thought kept coming to me, quit your job and go overseas. But like I said, even in all of that time, I'm not seeking for another job. I kid you not. So I remember one evening in 2022. This was in March. I think it was late March. I remember I got home from work one evening, and as usual, before I do anything else, when I get home, I usually just sit. It's like I just want to offload everything. I don't run for the bathroom first. I don't run for something to eat. Nothing like that. I can just sit, and just rest. And I was there just sitting, and I'm not a person who uses Facebook frequently, but here I was on Facebook, and I was scrolling through Facebook, and I saw one of my sister's best friend, and a thought came to me that ask her about a job opportunity overseas, because she works overseas. And I had that thought, and I really didn't action it. I didn't work on it. I was like, yeah, okay, maybe, but and I came off Facebook and came out of the room, and I was just there in the living room. I don't remember what I was doing. Like an hour later, my sister sent me a message, and she said to me, I'm going to ask such and such person to get you a job. And I said, what? This is like deja vu when I was saying to her, like, I was literally just on Facebook, and I kid you not, the thought came to me to ask, and I did not action it. So I said, God, I must use this attack to make up first. Out of nowhere, I have this desire and this, I don't know, like I just needed to go abroad. Let's leave the work and go abroad. And then, this person on Facebook and the thought, and then my sister. So I'm like, God, I must use this attack to me. So my sister gave me her friend's number, gave her friend my number, and told me that, reach out to her, talk to her, and, eventually we spoke. And long and short of the story is that I got a job overseas. I resigned from my very first job. Not my very first job, but my very first corporate job straight out of university on April 25th, 2022. Listen to me. I'm going to show you how fate works. Listen to me. Even before the job was confirmed, I resigned even before the job was confirmed. Before the job was confirmed, before I got the visa and all of that, I made up my mind because I was mentally done. To be honest with you, it's like I was mentally finished. And so it was just for me to just hand in the resignation. And they're talking to God. I asked God, to just do certain things. And I decided that, God, I'm going to resign from my job. So here what? If this don't work out, I'm still gonna resign. So you're going to have to provide something. That is the point that I was at. And I resigned from the job, and everything worked out for me to leave. And I left, and so that is the main reason why I have not published another episode of my podcast until this moment, because I was going through that transition, leaving from one country to the next, leaving from one job to the next, and all of that. So it was challenging for me, and I was also sharing a space. I know how that works with what I do. So it was very challenging for me um, to continue releasing podcast episodes. So I had to take the decision that, okay, um, I'm going to have to put a pause on the podcast, and then when I start myself out the right way, then I will be back. And so I am back. Here I am. Yeah, that's it. That's the story. Topic for this episode is the classroom of life. And you know how the school system works. You start at Some persons start at a daycare, but some persons start at basic school, then you go to primary, then you go to high school, then you go to university, and so on. And just like in high school or in primary school, you have to go through grade 1 before getting to grade 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In high school, you have to start at grade 7. You cannot start at grade 11. And then when you get to university and you're doing your courses, you have some courses that are prerequisites, and you cannot do a specific course, especially with your major, unless you do a prerequisite, right? I feel as though life is just the same. Like you you just can't escape life. There are certain lessons to be learned that you must learn. There are certain tests that you have to do, certain exams that you have to pass, and if you fail it, you keep on repeating that class. And that's how I feel about life. And one of the things that I've come to realize is that if there is something for you to learn in a season of your life and you missed it, when you get to the next season, you're going to have a repeat of the same lesson. Some of the times it may be that you're in a job, and you're faced with a certain situation and you run away from it. So you leave that job, you go to another job, and you find that, hey, I'm in a new space, it's a whole new environment, a new job, but I'm still having the same issues. And what I have found to work for me, and the lessons that I have learned, especially 2021 and 2022, is one that I had to get to the point of practicing to hear God, practice listening. That is very important. You have to study the way that God speaks to you, and He speaks to each of us very differently. He may speak to you through other persons. He may speak to you through songs. He may speak to you through scriptures. He may speak to you through dreams. There are several ways that God can speak to you. But you have to make prayer not a monologue, but a dialogue. And the same way in our relationships here on earth, friendships, whatever it may be, you have to communicate with each other, right? That's how the relationship makes sense. That's how it functions. That's how it grows. That I can hear from you, you can hear from me, but not that I'm the only one who's always speaking, right? So we have to practice hearing God's voice, because I feel like, for me, it was so hard for me. It was very hard for me to hear God's voice. And I'm not going to say that it's perfect. It's still a struggle. It's still a struggle. And a lot of times you wonder, is it you talking to me, God, or is it just me? Is it just my flesh? But you have to practice to listen God's voice and know when He is speaking to you. And I feel as though one of the most important things that I have learned, especially for the past year, is that you have to plan. And in the same way that God has plans for us, even as He declared in Jeremiah 29:11 that I know the plans that I have for you, or the thoughts that I think towards you, it's the same way that we also have to make plans, right? You have to have a strategy in place to execute the mandate that God has given to you. And He has given every one of us, a mandate. Each of us have an assignment. We have a purpose to fulfill. And so you have to have a plan. You have to have a strategy. How is it that I am going to fulfill my assignment, that I'm going to fulfill this mandate? So you have to always make a plan. And there are two scriptures in Proverbs that speaks to this. You have Proverbs chapter 16 verses 3 that tells us that you should commit your work to the Lord and your plans will be established. And Proverbs 16:9, the heart of man plans his ways, but the Lord establishes his steps. Right? So that is why point one is very important, because yes, you're going to make the plans, but then you're going to have to take the plans to God, because He is the one who will establish them. But it's very important that you have a plan, right? You have to also think about what this plan will cost you. And I like the story in Luke chapter 14, maybe from verses 28 to 33, where it speaks about the cost of being a disciple. And it gave an example in there about building a house and all of that. Don't begin something unless you have counted the cost. What will it cost me? Because you don't want to start and then not finish, right? And that is why it is so important for you to make sure that God is the center of your plan. That you're not like, what is your why? Why am I doing it? How is it going to impact me? How is it going to benefit others, right? You have to make sure that you have counted the cost for that plan, right? I feel like one of the most painful lessons that I have learned, especially since I have started this podcast, is that you cannot set your heart to receive the support of the persons that are closest to you, right? You will find that you become very discouraged, very disappointed, because the people who you expect, or that you feel in yourself for sure, these persons are going to support me, these persons are going to be there for me, you find that that is not always the case, right? The people who you've known all their life, they've been around you, they know you. You find that some of the times they are the last to come around to supporting you. And this is not strange, right? In Luke 4, it spoke about Jesus being rejected at Nazareth. All they wanted for Jesus to do was to perform a miracle. And he decided that he was not going to perform a miracle because the people had no faith in him. And it is the same way that you have to have faith and confidence in yourself and in your plan, because you will find that a lot of persons will not have faith in you. And these are the persons who are closest to you, who probably you support in everything, and you're expecting that this person should have my best interest at heart, right? So you cannot set your heart on receiving the support of the persons that are closest to you, because it does not happen, right? I'm telling you 100% of the time, right? And another thing is that you have to be very careful of who you share your dreams with. And every single time it takes me back to the story of Joseph, right? Joseph was having these dreams and he was sharing it with his older brothers. And they became jealous. They became jealous because you're the youngest one. Who are you to come to rule us? So they were jealous of Joseph, and Joseph kept on sharing his dreams with them. And they planned, they devised against him that, hey, let us kill him. And if you know the story, you know that they didn't end up killing him, but they sold him into slavery, and they made his father to believe that he was dead. So his father had made him a coat of many colors, and they took that coat, killed the animal, put the animal's blood all over it, and made his father to believe that he was dead, right? I'm saying this or sharing this story to say that you have to be very careful with whom you share your dreams, because a lot of persons, they are dream stealers and dream killers, right? So you have to be very careful whom you seek counsel from when you have your dreams. It's very important, as I said earlier, you bring your plans to the Lord, you practice listening to him, count the cost of it. But now, when you're going to share it with others, when you're going to tell others that, this is my plan, this is what I'm going to do, you have to use discernment. You have to ask God to open your eyes, or to show you the persons who, will genuinely help you, to send those persons who are destiny helpers, who will help push you to that next level, right? And one of the things that I have learned also, and mostly, one of the persons that I enjoy listening to as a minister is Apostle Joshua Selman, and he always speaks about it. But I feel like it spoke to me differently, especially this year, and it's honoring others. And I've grown an appreciation for that, because I've come to realize how difficult it can be. When you have found your niche, and when you're trying to walk in the calling that is on your life, and when you're trying to pursue those plans and those dreams, and to see that vision to fruition, it is not easy. And so when you find that persons are thriving, and they're doing good at what they're doing, or even trying, maybe they just start out, and especially if you're benefiting from it, show your appreciation, honor what they do, and support them in what they do. Because when you practice honor, it will take you to your next level. This will help you. This will launch you into your own purpose. You have to practice to honor others, and that is something that I have learned this year especially. And even having the opportunity to have gone overseas and worked overseas, it has really humbled me. This is not my first time working overseas. I was working overseas every single summer when I was in university, but my mindset was not the same. My mindset has evolved, my perspective, the way that I see things, it is so different now. And so I have such a great appreciation for people overall and what they do, and I remember even like being there and seeing, people even from Jamaica who comes there, they leave their family in Jamaica and they come there and they try to make better of themselves, try to make better for their families. I've really learned to really respect them for doing that, respect them, and just show them honor and appreciation. And that is something that is very important, for every person. Let the people that help you in life know that you appreciate them. Let them know that you appreciate them, especially in this time that we live in. Life is so fragile. Everyday persons are dying around us, even our own loved ones, and so life is so very fragile. Yes. So yeah, that is it for this episode. Thank you guys so very much for listening. We are back and we are better. We will be continuing episode after episode. We will be interviewing persons. We'll be hearing more stories. So stay tuned. Like up the video, share it, leave a comment. Let me know how this impacts your life. Until next week Sunday, same time, same place. This is the Birthing